have the ability to cut that influencer out of your business if anything goes wrong. And equally, if you're running the leadership model, make sure that that leader has a transition plan, because at some point we're all going to die. Now, hopefully we're all going to live forever with Elon Musk's help. I'm sure that's true. But I will tell you now, the final thing, really important in brand, learn to say no. If you don't say no to the wrong relationships, the wrong brand partnerships, the wrong clients, your brand will get damaged. I have had this experience myself. I spent 10 years building up a brand. It had a fantastic reputation, and then I got a bad client that didn't understand how the world worked and made my brand shit with their big mouth and their lies. And this can be hugely damaging. We all have probably heard the saying, you can spend 30 years building a reputation, it only takes 5 seconds for it to go to shit. I tell you from experience that saying no to things is powerful. If you have an inkling, spider senses that someone isn't good or a brand isn't good or don't match with your morals, do not take their money, say no. Your brand is the most valuable asset you will ever build. My company got sold for a lot of money in the end because I had a good brand image. I had a good brand value. They told me they bought the brand, not the business. Build a brand, not a business. And I promise you that brand will live forever. Next up, how to hire, how to grow, and how to build. These 3 things are interlinked. And if you get this formula right, your business can take off and forever give you the income you need, be a brand you love, and ultimately not be a management nightmare that a lot of people have when they build a business. So, first of all, how to hire. I always tell people, if your business has a purpose and the people you hire believe in that purpose, you will never have to manage anybody. You will be managing purpose, not people. One of the big things people complain to me about is managing people. And often when I look at their business to see why, because they have not installed a purpose in their business that resonates with the people that they've hired. And sometimes some businesses later install a purpose, but then that purpose just becomes a slogan on the wall because the people they hired in the early days weren't hired around purpose. You have to have this at the center of it all. And when you hire someone, always check, do they genuinely care about that purpose? Some people will play you lip service to get the job. So there is a few hacks that you can do to make sure that person really cares. First of all, go check out their social media. Go see what that person really cares about. You will see it. If they care about the planet, if you see them driving around in some gas-guzzling car, they probably don't care about the environment. So actually doing your research on your hires, being careful about the people you bring into your purpose matters. Check their history. Check for references. I don't know why people don't do this. People don't ask for references anymore. I don't know why. Now I know in England it's illegal to give someone a bad reference, but if you ask right, I don't want people to have a bad employee in their life if I had that bad employee in mind. It's important that we share these things to help that employee get better. If they had a bad reference, they'd act better, they'd do a better job. Now ultimately, I think when hiring people, the key is give them equity. Now I'm going to talk more about equity a little bit later in the video. It always comes up, but if you give your team equity, they are aligned with your success. Now any owner of any business knows that the real value in a company is not its turnover, it's in its brand. And if over 10 years an employee helps make that brand grow but are only taking an income, they're never getting their true value. You have to own equity in the business that you are working in. Now there's many different ways to do it. So if you're working for someone today, of course you can go ask for equity in that company. You've got nothing to lose, they'll probably laugh, they might say no. I promise you they'll respect you more, especially if they're a founder. The second thing is you can build a business where you work with that company but you own equity in it. So you can start your own company but have equity in that company and then work for that person. Now the point I'm telling you here is that give your employees respect. If you want to keep people and you want them to be motivated, have this conversation openly. Talk about this subject. You should be saying they should have equity. Now, it might not be possible to give people equity straight away. It might not be something you feel comfortable with doing straight away. But I promise you, your turnover will be less, your stress will be less, your company will be stronger if that person in your company has equity. And most people don't have the guts to do it. And they then spend years stressing that they can't find anyone or that they can't find anyone that actually cares. It's because they don't own what you own. Give them a piece of the business and you'll have loyalty. Of course, it comes with its risks, but in my opinion, high turnover, high management, high stress is a bigger risk than any equity problem you could have if someone leaves, for example. And ironically, most of the time, why would people leave if they have equity? In fact, I had a case recently, someone who worked with me for 4 years. I gave them equity in the business and then they left. But because I treated them with respect and because I treated them well and we had a good relationship, when they left, they let me buy their equity back at a very low rate. They were very reasonable. They did not hold me blackmail. Now, of course, if you've hired the right person under purpose and you've given them equity, most good people will not hold you over it to get that equity back. You can be reasonable, but if you've done the right thing in the beginning by giving people equity, it's so easy. Now, the third thing I'll tell you, and this really links to how you grow your business. You can't grow a business without people. I would say that today with AI and all this technology, you'll be able to grow a business with less people, but you won't be able to grow a business with no people. So you need to grow a business through growing its culture. You need to make sure that this business has values. I had a business called Fluid. This business went on to become one of the most successful creative agencies in Asia that I sold to PricewaterhouseCoopers for more money than I'll ever need. And one of the things I did in the early days of that business, which was a big mistake, is I built a business to make money. Now that might not sound like a mistake, but what happened? First year, I hired people, they were new, it was exciting. Second year, people started to leave. Why did they leave? Because the values of the business were wrong. I changed the values in that business. We went from a business that was designed to make money to a business that would protect the staff from bad clients. I had a creative agency. Often designers were treated badly. Do this by tomorrow at 12, I need it, instead of understanding that creativity is a process. So we switched our whole model. And instead of working for clients, we worked for the creative people and helped them manage clients. That transformed our business and helped us grow. By thinking about things differently instead of traditionally, you will grow your business. And by looking after your people, it's cheesy, I know, you can grow much easier. Now, when you grow, assuming you follow my advice and you grow your business, this is the important thing you need to identify. What is your destination? What are you actually growing for? Now, I have a lot of people recently approach me and say, please invest in my business, Simon, I want to grow it. My first question is why? What is it you're trying to do by growing your business? What's the real reason you're growing your business? Is it ego? Do you really want to work more? Or is it you want to make the business bigger so you can bring in management so you can not have to work so hard? So you're working hard now to grow it, that's fine. I think you need a reason to grow it. Now, I want to grow the biggest platform in the world that helps people for free learn business. So I want it to be big. I know my destination. I want to help 10 million people for free start a business they love and never feel alone doing it. So I know my destination. And therefore I'm growing both from a higher point of view, from a culture point of view, in that direction. But I have had points in my life, and the early days of Fluid, where actually I wanted to work 3 days a week, doing cool stuff with brands, and 2 days a week, going to the beach with my girlfriend, having fun. And so I didn't grow the business too much at the beginning. I actually had a different ambition, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if you want to grow your business, brilliant. Follow this formula. Have purpose, bring people in that have value and own value in the business, and you will grow if you look after them and your customer base. The final thing I'll talk about when it comes to really building a business and making a business successful. First of all, take risk. Make sure that you build MVPs, minimum viable products. Try things out. If you really want to build a company, you can't stay stagnant. No company today is around when they stay stagnant. Think about Blockbusters or any of these businesses that just sat on their technology like Kodak and didn't do anything with it. You can't sit still. Kodak invented the digital camera. You can't sit still. You have to put these things to the market. Kodak didn't want to put their digital camera into the market because it would have meant film was gone, and film was their core business. You've got to disrupt yourself if you really want to build a business that's going to last. If you really want to build a successful company, I'm going to use a dirty word, a word that I personally hate but has saved me. You need to build systems. You need to move from what is often in the early days of a business, what I call a generalist mindset, where everybody can do everything, to a specialist mindset. You need to allow people to be specialists in certain areas. Now, when I was younger, I'm a generalist. I can do kind of everything. I can clean the toilets in the company toilets when they're dirty. I can help people get their car loaded up and get to the site to do the pitch. I can do the pitch. I could do everything. But I became a specialist in marketing. And I think as you grow a business, you have to take away the generalist people and build out specialist people, people that do a particular thing well to help the business grow. And that involves building systems that allow people to do that, in your hiring process, in your growing process, and in your mindset. Even you, as a founder, potentially, you have to make sure that you learn a skill set. Otherwise, you become redundant, which, by the way, is fine. I have often got myself replaced in a company that I have built. I think that's actually pretty smart. Unless you can become a specialist, it's probably the best thing for the company too. There's likely to be a CEO out there that's better than you when you're at scale. I found that to be the case many times. I replaced myself at Fluid 11 years in by someone who was a better CEO than me. So hopefully, if you know your purpose and you give purpose to the people you hire, you have equity both for your team and for the wider growth of the business. You know your values and you apply them. You know your destination and you apply this very important point of systems and removing generalism. You will have a business that is easy to hire people, that will scale and will build into something that lives without you. Now let's talk about how to fire someone. Now I have fired hundreds of people in my career and I'm going to teach you how to fire someone and also when you're likely to be getting fired. So one of the things I hate to do is fire someone. It's a very necessary skill if you want to survive in business. I have often built up large companies that needed to get small again quick for various reasons. You have to learn to fire people. It is not nice. But one of the most difficult things about firing people is understanding when to do it. Now, I think when it comes to actually firing people structurally, like for example, doing it legally, sending the appropriate warnings, doing the proper paperwork, all of this stuff you can get off a lawyer. I'm not going to waste your time telling you the law. In your country, wherever you are, it will be different anyway. I'm going to talk more about the actual act and also what's involved in making the decision as to whether or not someone should be fired. I learned long ago a system that I call the 7 and 8 rule. It's very simple and obvious when I first start explaining it. Now, if someone's in your company and they are really good, like you love them, they love you, they're obviously a 9 and 10, you want to keep them and you want them to stay and they want to stay. Most of the time, those people are 9 and 10s because they're enjoying it. Now, of course, like I said earlier, make sure you give these people equity. Make sure you look after these people over time. But you know you want to keep them and they want to stay.